Hello everyone and welcome back to my channel BethChatsBooks. Now today is going to be a tag video, so the lovely Emily over at Novelle Novels has tagged me in this tag and I am really excited to be doing a tag video because I don't think I've done them in a while. So this tag was originally done by Wonderfully Bookish, so I'll tag both of these channels down below so you can go and check them out. But without further ado, I'm just going to get stuck in with this book tag. So the first question in this book tag is, do you judge a book by its cover? And the answer is undoubtedly yes. I am a sucker for aesthetically pleasing book covers. I'm really interested in book covers and how the design process works, and Jen Campbell recently did a video about how publishers tend to create covers that are similar to other covers in a bid to get certain readers to read similar genres and to gravitate to new authors by their covers looking similar to other books that have been successful in publishing. So I think that's really interesting, but I'm definitely one of those people who is a sucker for that kind of marketing strategy because I love pretty hardbacks. I love the different textures on covers as well when they're quite matte, smooth. I'm just a sucker for colour schemes as well on books, so yeah, absolutely. If I see something that's just beautiful, then I will pick it up. I will probably pick it up, yeah. Then number 2, focusing on the cover, what attracts you to pick it up? I've kind of mentioned that before in the first question, but one thing I've noticed is I like pastel coloured covers and I also like block contrasting colours. So for example, The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett and Love in Colour, which is going around BookTuber a lot at the moment. It's kind of got bright vivid reds and yellows. The Girl with the Louding Voice has bright yellow and green, and I quite like the pastel blue colours on covers. I like quite simple designs. I don't like pictures on the cover of people or photographs as much. I like images and icons. I really liked Jen Campbell's short story collection that has the heart on the front cover, and I like flowers or stars. A simple pattern or a pastel colour is kind of what I like. And then number 3, do you read synopsises first or do you prefer to go in without knowing anything about the book? So I'm kind of going to give a politician's answer here, and I like to go in blind, particularly if a book has been overhyped, because I want to be able to decide whether I like it myself without knowing any information. For example, if it's the first of a book in a series, I don't want spoilers, and if it's a thriller, I certainly don't want spoilers because I don't want to know what happens. And if it's overly hyped and people are saying it's amazing, it's the next best thing, then I want to know literally nothing about it. But if I go to the library and I'm browsing the shelves and I've never seen this book before and the cover pops out at me on the shelves, then I will probably read the synopsis at the back to get a gist of whether it's my kind of book, because sometimes you're drawn to pretty covers and pretty books and then you read the synopsis and realise it might not be your genre. For example, I'm not a massive sci-fi or fantasy reader, although I would like to get into those genres more than I am currently reading of them, which is pretty much none. But for example, I might be drawn to a pretty cover with stars on the front and it might be an epic fantasy, and reading the synopsis I might realise it's something that's not as exciting to me as a woman's fiction book or a literary fiction book or a thriller. So yeah, if it's in the library and I don't really know anything about the book, then I will read the synopsis. Then number 4, do you have any auto-buy authors? So I've put Laura Purcell here. I have previously read the first 2 books of hers, which is The Silent Companions and The Corset. The Silent Companions I enjoyed, but not as much as everybody else on BookTube seemed to enjoy. But The Corset was super, super interesting and compelling and propulsive for me. So I am currently reading Bone China by her, and I have got a NetGalley approved book off hers, which is her newest release called The Shape of Darkness, I believe. So she's one that as soon as I see she's got a new book out, because I loved the other so much, I will just automatically want to download it, take it out of the library or buy it to read it. I also love Kayla Tassini's books. I've only read most of The Kite Runner and The Mountains Echoed, and everybody says A Thousand Splendid Suns is his best work, but he writes so beautifully that I trust that whatever he writes I will love. And I think they're the main ones. There's certain authors that I've read one of their books and I want to read more. For example, Sarah Waters' books. I really have enjoyed The Night Watch, which I read by her a few years ago, and everybody says her other books are just as good, so I want to read all of her back catalogue. I automatically bought the next instalment in the Cormoran Strike series because I loved that so much. My mum is a massive Helen Dunmore fan, and she's slowly over the years given me everything of hers, and I haven't read any of them, but I want to read all of them. So they're not necessarily auto buys, but they're authors I want to read all of their works of at some point. So I guess that kind of answers the question. And then number 5, are you more likely to pick up a book if it includes certain elements or themes? So I've noticed recently I'm really drawn to LGBTQIA+ storylines. So the last few books I've read have had gay protagonists, and those have been really highly rated books for me that I've really enjoyed. So I kind of think that's a theme and a genre that when I see that's in a book, I'm instantly interested. And also I like diversity picks in books. So if it's about race, culture, society, gender, I'm going to tend to be more interested and gravitate more towards those books. And I also really like own voices narratives. I know there's been a lot of controversy around that in recent years on BookTube, and knowing that it's an own voices narrative about their experience is really compelling to me. So those are some things that I kind of look out for when I'm picking a new book. Number 6, do you ever read a book that generally has negative reviews and you read it anyway to form your own opinions? So if it's been unanimously deemed in a negative light by BookTube, as in it's very rare that you'll find a positive review of it, then I probably will skip it. If it, however, has mixed reviews, so some big booktubers loved it, some big booktubers hated it, small booktubers loved it, and some small booktubers hated it. If there's an overall mixed opinion on it, and I am interested in what the synopsis and the plot that most of the booktube and the Instagram community have concised it as, if there's something in it that's interesting to me and I think maybe I would quite enjoy, for example, a lot of thrillers, they might have a plot that just seems really interesting, then I will give it a go. If it is one that most of BookTube has deemed is negative, then I probably will skip it. But if it has that kind of mixed bag reception, because a lot of books that I have really enjoyed have had mixed reviews on BookTube in general, and so some people have absolutely loved it. The BookTube Prize is a really good example. You get people who love your favourite books, you get people who hate your favourite books. So if it's mixed, yeah, I will read it to form my own opinions, particularly if the synopsis sounds interesting to me. And then number 7, do you ever buy books just because another booktuber or blogger reviewed it or talked about it a lot? The answer is yes. So I won't always buy books. I'm trying at the moment not to buy books, to either use them on ebook from the library, to take them out from the library, to get them secondhand. I'm trying not to buy brand new books. So obviously with Barterhood's book club at the moment that he's created, a lot of what he chooses as the selections, we vote on them, and then at the moment I've been buying them in physical form from used online bookshops, and everything that Eric from the Lonesome Reader recommends I usually end up wanting to check out. The same with Jen Campbell. I really like April's channel Getting Hooga with it, and Mara from Books Like Woe. They recommend some really interesting thrillers that always kind of stay on my radar. Examples of this are currently Mara and April have been raving about The Ring Shout, which is a fantasy book that focuses on the Ku Klux Klan, which sounds really interesting to me. Like I've said, I'm not a massive fantasy person, but the concept sounds really engaging. Jen Campbell has raved, as well as Lauren from Lauren the Books and other channels, about The Vanishing Half by Britt Bennett, which I want to get to. Eric from The Lonesome Reader raved about Duck's Newburyport earlier in the year, and I bought it because of that. So I have plenty of people that encourage me to get more books. And the brilliant thing about BookTuber, since I've started, there are so many videos with recommendations for so many different genres, and some of the small booktubers like Emily recommend some amazing books, and A Book Gem is a really great channel as well. They recommend some really interesting books that haven't even been on my radar before, so there's just a wealth of recommendations and love and passion about books in the BookTube community. And then number 8, is there anyone whose book recommendations you always trust? So I believe this is not really meant to be about recommending BookTubers specifically. So I've mentioned some who I always trust their recommendations, but mainly my mother and my auntie, we read really similarly, and anything that my mum says, you must read this, and vice versa. When I hand her a book, we usually always are excited and enthusiastic to read. It's fun for us because once we've both read it, we usually have quite an in-depth discussion about what we liked and didn't like, and it's always quite interesting because books that I've absolutely loved, sometimes she's not liked, and it's so interesting to hear somebody else give their opinions on a book that you really liked to help you form and solidify your opinions on that book. So often my mum might not like a book that I've loved, but we'll dissect it together, and a lot of her opinions on it are very valid as well, and so we kind of help each other process our thoughts on it. But most of the time, most of the books that we share between each other, we absolutely love. They're the kind of main bookish people in my life who I trust with book recommendations. So that is everything for this tag. I'm not going to tag anybody in it because I know I recently watched Emily's version of this tag and she tagged a whole load of booktubers, and I've seen so many videos of this tag going around. I searched it on YouTube before I started to kind of see what other people's opinions were, but it seems like a lot of people are doing this tag. So if you want to do the tag, I officially tag you, so go ahead and do the tag, and I'd love to see your version of it. And I will be back very soon with a brand new video.